The NBA draft is one big, complex mystery. Teams can rack up this disgusting amount of hours scouting a singular player and still have no idea what they're getting. Just ask Michael Jordan and all of his former scouts how difficult of a process that evaluating potential talent can be. Let me stop because Mike never did anything to me. But every year there are these guys who are expected to have major roles on their respective teams who just don't pan out. But on the flip side, there are also these sleepers who come in and hit the ground running and never look back. The dominant and polarizing Edey was far from a sleeper, but he's one of those guys who has come in and already started to turn some heads. Purdue's former giant post hub hasn't just hit the ground running, he's looking like Usain Bolt in the final third. Obviously, it's only the preseason, but if this trend continues, then we will have a massive problem on our hands that we have to talk about. But first, I don't know about you guys, but as I wait for basketball season to get back into full swing, I'm going to be playing Underdog's fantasy pick'em game. I've been having a ton of fun playing daily fantasy on Underdog, and I think that you guys would too. So let's go with Tank Dell continuing his hot play with Nico Collins missing some time in what should be a shootout. I'm also really feeling one of the premier receiving backs in the league, Jahmyr Gibbs, going over 21.5 receiving yards. Now when you guys click the link in the description to sign up, make sure to use my code COOP, because with code COOP, you can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash along with a free pick. And it's also a great way to support the channel. Thank you, Underdog, for the sponsor. Only winning 27 out of 82 games, the Memphis Grizzlies would effectively be one of the worst teams in the league last season, which isn't something that you would necessarily expect from a team that has Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Ja Morant. Despite the Grizzlies having a talented team last season, availability was far from their friend. Jaren Jackson Jr. would play the most games for them last season, playing 66, while Desmond Bane would only play 42, Marcus Smart would only play 20, and Ja Morant would only play 9. But despite this ugly season in Memphis, there would be a bright light that would shine at the end of this ugly storm of a season. The Grizzlies being bad would allow them to see what they had in some of their young talent like Gigi Jackson and Vince Williams, two players who seem like they're going to have long careers in the association. The Grizzlies being bad also allowed them to get something that a team as talented as them and a team that drafts as well as them had no business getting, and that's an NBA lottery pick. The Grizzlies being bad would get them the 9th overall pick in this past draft, and that 9th overall pick would end up being huge for them, literally. Edey enters the NBA with something that you can't teach, and that's size. Standing at 7'4" and weighing 299 pounds, Edey enters the NBA as one of the league's most physically imposing forces. NBADraft.net called Edey a huge human being who knows how to use his size very well. They continued saying he's an excellent rebounder and has a nice soft touch around the basket, and he's also a very effective scorer with his back to the basket. They even used the forbidden phrase, traditional big man, when describing his unique skill set. But there are big differences between Edey and players who rely on that dying playing style. A lot of traditional bigs are plotters, and Edey, being 7'4", 299, is somebody who people expected to be exactly that, a plotter. And honestly, I don't blame them, because it would be unfair for a player as big and as strong as Edey to be anything other than a plotter. But check it out. At 11.19, Edey posted a better lane agility than fellow bigs Donovan Clingan and Alex Sarr. It gets better. His lane agility was actually better than multiple guards and forwards at the combine. Look at this list. Edey is nowhere near the bottom of this list. Edey being towards the middle of the pack for this drill is dumbfounding. His agility makes his massive wingspan of 7'10" and his huge size that much more of a glitch. The Grizzlies being able to put this size next to DPOY Jaren Jackson Jr. just doesn't make any sense. I felt bad for the Grizzlies when they lost Steven Adams because he was such a big part of what they did. But the reality that I'm faced with now is that they should feel bad for me as a Pelicans fan. Looking at our depth chart, I have no idea how we're going to match up with their size. The Grizzlies front court pairing has the potential to be one of the most dominant in the league for years to come. Without a doubt, their games and playstyles complement each other insanely well. Jaren Jackson Jr. is 6'11" until it's time to go get a rebound. For his size, he is a terrible rebounder. Last season, he only averaged 5.5 per game. Meanwhile, Edey averaged 12.2 per game his senior season at Purdue, gobbling up every single board in sight. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a very versatile player on offense, who is a capable shooter. Last year was a down year from 3 for him at 32%, but his second year in the league, he shot 39.4% from 3, taking almost 7 threes a game. His ability to shoot is super important when it comes to these two playing together, because Edey was unstoppable down low in college, which it's looking like we'll be seeing more of the same in the NBA, despite the insane amount of doubters that this 7'4" post phenom had. This drop step into a dunk on the 6'10" Isaiah Jackson nearly brought a tear to my eye. For a second, I didn't know if I was watching Zach Edey or a modern Shaquille O'Neal. There was a defender waiting to help in the paint, but Edey is so strong and athletic that it just doesn't matter. Most players are going to have trouble covering Edey one-on-one. Edey was even giving Miles Turner, one of the league's scariest shot blockers, all that he could handle. This game against the Pacers, Edey would score 23 points and grab 9 rebounds while shooting 66% from the field, and he did all of this in just 19 minutes. And there was nothing that the 6'11", 250-pound Miles Turner could do about it. Once Edey catches the ball, it's already too late. And if you let him complete this gather to get off this hook shot, then just know that you're not bothering it. Edey has a soft touch to go along with his 7'10" wingspan, and he uses these tools to perfection. With Edey releasing this hook near the top of his jump, it's virtually an unfair shot, but it's one that is seriously refreshing for me to see in today's NBA. What you have to love about Edey is that you can't foul this guy either. In college, he shot 70% from the free throw line. Now, while Edey's hook is a thing of beauty and what he's built his post game around, he has an arsenal of moves at his disposal, and as evidenced by his free throw percentage, he does have jump shooting potential. Go figure, but he turned heads at the combine with his shooting. His shooting is something that he takes pretty seriously. He took 3 threes against the Hornets earlier this preseason, and though he would have missed them all, it's crazy to see him working so hard to expand his game already. It's so silly that people were really anti-Edey because they thought that teams wouldn't want to waste possessions posting him up in the NBA. I understand that today's game is different than it was 20 years ago, but points are points. Why wouldn't you want to feed a post player who is as imposing and as skilled as Edey? I've always thought that in today's game, which is hyper-focused on spacing, that strong slashers and skilled post players that manufacture easy looks are as valuable as ever. Ja Morant and the Grizzlies are going to be so terrifying to go against if Edey reaches his true potential. Just imagine those Edey screens clearing space for Ja as he gets a runway to the basket. How in the world did we let this happen? Anyways guys, there's some more going on in the NBA universe that I need to be covering. Clicking the video on the screen right now and using code COOP for Underdog are great ways to support this channel. I'm GETLIKECOOP, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.